coat, lantern, jaw, shadow, microscope, halo, petri dish, tableau, stir plate, cyclone, liquid gold, whirlpool, feeding spore scripture through the culture school. Samantha with the steady hand, razor like a plan, shaves a sliver off the Agar like a desert wind can. Jars clink, hymns when the shelf choir hums, every lid's a sealed drum where mycelium comes. Keep spawning culture, roots in the rust belt soil, turn dust into kingdom with the clean room toil. From the block to the plate to the LC shine, every strand's got a story in the Mossy Creek mine. Yo, Mad Hat Hatchery, pink oysters tap dance, lion's mane maneuvers with a heresy.
Hey, y'all. Hey, it says my mic's working and my camera's working. We're working today. I'm working today. Samantha's not working. She's leaving. She's going to go pick up the kids and not work a lick. I'm about to get beat. No, Samantha's been working her ass off this week for the past few weeks. Actually, you guys should have seen it. These racks behind me, there we go, behind me like that, were full of orders, but the UPS and the post office came and picked them up today. So got a lot of orders going out today. And that is 100% Samantha. So, well, I hope everybody's doing well. We're going to give it time for people to get in here. Hello, sports. Welcome, Kansas City, Missouri, right? Always. What's up, Zero Bytes? Welcome. It's middle of the day. I'm not expecting this to be a huge, stream, but we'll, I'm hoping to get some good questions answered, and I have a social obligation starting about 5:30 or so we can only go for, I don't know, maybe hour and a half, maybe 2 hours if things are rolling. Again, it's just a Q&A today, so we got a lot of changes going on here at the farm, and I'm happy to talk about those for anybody that's interested, but the main thing has been that with all of this stuff going on, I've not had time to prepare anything or do anything for our live stream. So you guys may have noticed I've only done a couple this month. I'm trying to make sure that I keep those coming in, but it's just Samantha and I. We've got a lot of orders and a lot of stuff coming through, a mentorship that we taught last week, and it's just a lot. Cumaru one. Had to shut down the past 2 years as life's been kicking my ASS. Finally got a handle on it, and I'm jumping back in. Been binging your lives and videos the last week, and I appreciate all the info. You're very welcome. Ask away, rapid fire as much as you want. No, like I said, it's probably going to be a pretty light Q&A today, where it's 3 o'clock and 3 o'clock Eastern. The likelihood to have a huge group is going to be pretty low. So, nobody feel like you can't ask questions or anything, because that actually helps me. When the more questions there are, the more helpful to me it is, because it gives me directions on where to go, and I don't have to just fill airtime with my own thoughts out of my own brain pan. I'm not really, that creative of a person. I'm always better at grabbing someone else's stuff and handing it to someone else, right? Like, that's the innovation broker. That's what it's called. How long do you sterilize agar for? Well, us, an hour. We do ours for an hour, and we have, 45 minutes is what we call for as a mandatory minimum for our cooks, but we go an hour. And I know a lot of people will do 15, 20 minutes, that kind of thing. So, yeah, that's the main thing for liquids is I like to go for about an hour at 15 psi. Which is what 121C. And then I have ridiculously long sterilization times for my solid substrate. So, hey, Nipticolored, good to see you too, man. I almost said your real name, which I am sure you'd probably actually be okay with. But Agreed. Thanks for all the info. I got the blue gel food coloring you recommended yesterday. Was that yesterday? What day is today? Where am I?
They're all blending together.
They are. Love you. Be safe. Well, heck, man, that blue agar or gel will work really, really well. So, and of course, I can pull anything up for you guys that you want. If you want to see the kind of stuff we utilize or anything else, I'd like to start doing some more shared things, like going over other people's videos, and we've done that in the past, and I know it seems like people like that. So ask as many questions as I want to. Don't tempt me. No, ask all the questions you want. You create content for me. I can literally farm you for content, and you can farm me for information. This is a beneficial symbiosis here. So the more you do, the more it helps me. And the more you do, the more I can help you. So ask away. If it becomes too much, I'll say so, right? Or I can help. We'll be able to communicate that. Or you're not gonna be probably too much. Adrian! Hey, Andrew, hope that you are all good. I am. Let's see, how am I? Doing well. I'm doing well. Today's been a good day. I'll be honest, the past few days, I don't know what's going on. If I'm coming down with something again, which would be great, or what. But I've been kind of down the past few days. And I kind of, I don't know, when I get sick, I always kind of feel like down. Not necessarily depressed, but like down low. And I've been struggling a lot with that for the past few days. I had a really good day with my parents and family on Sunday. But I've just been kind of emotionally raw the past few days. Don't know. But other than that, I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for asking. Hey, buddy, can you talk about / show us a Man of War stir plate in action? Yeah, absolutely. I think I have one right here. Give me a second to look this up on my downloads. I may have to find what folder it is. But I definitely have some video of the Man of War stir plates. How far down is it? I bet it's in the use this folder. Desktop. Use. Shaker stir plate. I'll tell you what, why don't I just share video file. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll get this loaded up. I'm just going to play the video that I've got on a previous live stream. That'll give people a chance to ask questions, but it'll also give you the information you're looking for. Okay, bam. Okay, let's let that buffer, and I'll get to it. So. All right, it is buffered. I'll go ahead and play this, and then I'll be right back in a couple of minutes, guys. This will hopefully answer Steve's question. Alrighty, so another piece of equipment that I swear by is the Man of War stir plate. This isn't just because he's my friend that makes them, but rather that he made them just for us people. So let's see, what have I got here? Beach blue. It's forming a pellicle. That's a problem. You got a highly nutritive media here, and we'll just turn it up. Oh, I always find it's best to just kind of loosen that pellicle a little bit, because sometimes it'll just boop, shreds, shred, and we'll just keep going, and I'll just leave it, and I'll replace all these that are starting to grow some pellicles on top. Ooh, the fat man needs to go. Let's get it. I guess I'll go with this one. That fat man one's going to take a little while to suck down, but just go ahead and turn it on, get it going. And you'll see them, they'll do this, and then once they get heavy enough, they just go down. But that has been stirring this 10 liter for a while. this 5 liter, which even then still has some growth, but you have to knock that off and then it'll suck it down slowly. You can always turn it up a little bit if you need to. Oh, there it goes. Starts going. I was kind of hoping I could show it to you faster. Sometimes I find that if you put them like off to the side, the stir bar, like that, it'll create these weird little vortexes that then grab it a lot easier. But you see it's starting to ebb and flow. This one's already being chewed into a bunch of pieces. That'll be a fine powder by morning. It's Dr. V's number 3 recipe. What else we got? Oh, King Blue. Put that King Blue right there. Looks like BS26 here has got a pellicle. Give that a little shake just to knock it loose. And yeah, I know, don't judge me. I gotta clean up stuff. I got a lot of plates. It's not even half of it. Plates. You guys are killing me with the Mycologium. Anyways, pretty self-explanatory. Love this thing. The stir plate is the best. Oh, look, that one's already gone. Woo! This one's still hanging on. Oh, it's losing the fight, but it's hanging. These have already been pulled and are grinding away. Hey, there you go, Steve. I hope that that helped answer your question. That actually gave me, I saw another question on here later on, so it gave me a chance to go grab a couple of slants to answer their question. So that worked out well. Ihor, hi Andrew, great to see you. Thank you for choosing this time for the stream. How are you all doing? I'm doing great right now. Yeah, I'm doing great right now. Thank you for sure. Appreciate you asking. Question: What? And you're very welcome at the time. I'm trying to do evenings and mornings, and just I'm starting to try to shift it so that people can really actually have time to access. We're also going to do an unboxing. I got a little gift for myself and really for Samantha. So when she gets back, you know, it'd be a good 30 minutes or so because she's got to go pick up kids on the other side of the county. But the this is a gift that Samantha said that this is something she said she wanted, and then a buddy of mine gave me the ability to do this for her. So all I had to do was, well, we'll just talk about it here in a second. But what lion's mane variety from your collection would you recommend? Looking for health benefits, but also may cook a steak or two out of it. Tribbles would probably be the one then. Tribbles has got a good density, so it's going to cook up well for a steak. It's going to be a little smaller in yield. It's not a massive, fluffy, lion's mane. It's going to be pretty thick. It's going to have thicker teeth. But the biggest thing is that it's for extraction, so for health benefits. That one has been specifically bred to reinforce the exudates that come from the lion's mane. So yeah, I would totally do that. But sorry, I mean it arrived yesterday. The gel arrived yesterday. Gotcha. Took me a second. But yeah, Tribbles would be the one I'd go with, David. How do you clean tubes that go on jar lids? I usually just, if they start getting dirty, I'll run hot water through them. If they don't want to clean up, I just cut new hose. So silicone hose, I usually just buy a roll of it, and then you can just cut them as needed. A lot of times they don't need to be cleaned. If they are in the lower section, like especially in the liquid themselves, I stopped doing the pull tubes on my jars. And the reason for this is I don't like how it interferes with the mycelium stirring. Even with the Thor stir plate, it wants to gum up or glom onto the... I just realized glom is a word for like holding on to, and glomulin. I wonder which came first, glomulin or glom. Anyways, it's a soil protein, or a protein found in soil that kind of helps soil bind together. And it comes from typically mycorrhizal fungi. But The hot water method would be about the best thing that you could really do to clean it. But otherwise, I just stopped using the draw tubes, and I'll have them on the top, and you can just lean the jar over and pull straight out of the tube that way. And that way there's not a downspout tube to get dirty that goes all the way to the bottom. But the other side of this is that I make extraction lids, and it's literally a lid that is the same thing as what we would do for those jar tops. So we'll do regular ones, and then we cook, pressure cook in unicorn bags with a little sprinkling of water in there, these extractor lids. And then we when we're ready, the jar's ready to pull, we'll take the lid off, put the new lid on, and then just hook it up. We either put it through our automatic syringe puller that I've built, or we either that or we'll pull it by hand. So at that point, it's easy peasy. But yeah, they suck to clean. They absolutely do. If they get dirty, sometimes they'll get plugged up too, if they're just sitting there. Watching some of your older stuff, you mentioned doing no pour. Do you still do that? I found it to be great in theory, but finicky, bothersome in practice. It can be finicky. Like there's honestly there are certain ones that are just better containers. Even then, though, as I said in the video, I only ever did that for small batch stuff. That was not the way that I do. Like when I'm doing mass pourings, I'm pouring Agar with a peristaltic pump. We cook the liquid, the Agar in a jar, with an extractor lid on it. Those same extractor lids that I was talking about. We just cook the Agar with the extractor lid, and then just hook it, just pull it to the HEPA filter and hook it up to the silicone hose that we've cooked separately, and then run that through the peristaltic pump, and then we're able to pour dishes. Just Samantha poured 200 dishes in like half an hour the other day using the peristaltic pump. So that's what I do. So I don't. As I said in the video, the no pour is really about small batch specialty stuff. It's not really, and it's for people who don't have the ability to pour in a clean environment. You can make that work when you have less than ideal circumstances. Sometimes what I show you guys stuff is just to show you different ways of doing things. It's not necessarily the most economic. I mean, in fact, maybe I should do a video at some point that is a step-by-step video series on it. But I will admit, guys, I'm getting a little bit tired of the online side of things. I'm probably going to slow some of that down. And it's not you guys. It's like I get, like, Samantha and I were talking about this today. Like, we got a 1-star review again. And that happens. I'm not worried about that necessarily, but it's just like, you try. This person even admits that we shipped half their order so that they could get it. So it means we took on an extra expense to get that to them earlier because we had a mishap with the pink oyster line for them. So the spawn was going to take a little bit longer because we had more orders than what we had in stock. And then at a crucial point, one of our cell lines of the pink went bad. So we had to completely restart that. Thankfully, it didn't leave the facility or anything, but we had to restart it, which meant that we were even lower on orders. So we went ahead and shipped it so we can ship it half the order now and half the order later, and that's an extra expense to us. And they admitted that in the review, but then it was just, I don't know, like, I guess I get just tired of, there's a lot of negativity in the space, and it's like it's getting worse. And Samantha and I are just like, man, we're a small op. We made far more money when we were doing commercial farming and nothing else. And so I'm actually just, we've opened up the commercial farm back up, and we're still going to do the online side of things. I'm not going anywhere, but I'm going to minimize my, some of my interactions. So I'll still do live streams and stuff, but we're going to minimize our faces being online. We're going to minimize, some of our, we're going to have a very narrow focus for our product offerings, things that we can do and do well and do quickly and with a small crew. So we also are going to be building a lot more into the local community here. So we're starting a small plant nursery in our lot here next door. Ben and Seth are going to be doing feeds and seeds. This building is the old cooperative, so we're going to call this place the old co-op. And we're still going to be selling stuff online, of course. And Man of War is still going to be doing mushroom equipment. We're still going to be doing, I'm just going to be a little less open source going forward. And probably not releasing a lot of new strains for a little bit because it's just really hard to protect them, and you work really hard to do all this stuff, and then people end up selling. I think was it liquid fungi or somebody selling some of my strains for like $11.50, that kind of stuff. So I don't know. It's just rough. I don't mean to get into that, but that's just kind of where we're going. So we're going to be doing things just a lot easier. Guess who just bought a Fomimo printer on your recommendation? Yeah, this guy. Well, I got that recommendation from Josiah Tucker. He brought it to do his mentorship. That's one of the things I love about doing mentorships, and that is something we're going to keep going. We're going to teach local classes here. We're going to shrink. I'm probably only going to do 12 mentorships all year next year, but we're still going to do them. But this is one of the things I love doing about them is that these people bring me stuff all the time, like to show me or to teach me how to do some new stuff from their perspective. Mentorships are great. You're able to spend time making each other better. I absolutely love it. And I'm glad that you got one. Those things are amazing. What's up, Fry Up Man? Thank you. Thank you very much. Wonder what the brown square was supposed to be. So it's heart, thumbs up, mushroom, brown square. Box. All the love you can fit in a box. That's what that's supposed to mean, right? The 15 to 20 minute sterilization you mentioned for Agar is what I've commonly heard. How come you do 200 to 300% more than that? Just experience. That is what has worked best for me. That's really all it is. The reason why the 15 to 20 minutes people don't want you caramelizing your sugars, they're trying to shrink, and I don't really understand it. Most of your time in a cook is spent on the way up and on the way down in temperature. So, if it stays there 15, 20 minutes or an hour, what do you care? And it's froze. I'm just going to wait till it comes back because I don't know if you guys can actually hear me or not while I'm at this point. There, the screen goes black. And when are we coming back? And we're back. Are we back? Yes, we're back. Awesome. That was weird. It completely kicked me out for a second. Okay. Anyways, they're trying to stop you from caramelizing your sugars. That's great, with bacteriology and yeast culture and a bunch of other stuff. Plants don't like to uptake caramelized sugar. So if you're doing the plant tissue culture, maybe you want to be a little bit more careful. But white rot fungus, most of what us gourmet mushroom growers are growing, actives or medicinal, any of those three groups of the white rot fungi that we're growing can absolutely pull apart caramelized sugars. They can absolutely pull apart larger, more complicated molecules. And so caramelize your sugars all you want. In fact, that's going to help you keep bacteria populations down. So that's why I do it, is I'm purposely caramelizing my sugars. Good to hear, buddy. Family time is super important. Oh yeah, it is. And I love spending time with my parents. And my children, and it's crazy, man. Like it's crazy how as I've gotten older, I want to spend more and more and more time with my parents, my family, and my grandparents, and everyone. Like the more I go into life, the more I find that I like those people best. What's up, Ogre? Glad to see you on, man. Roll that beautiful bean footage. The B-roll. The bean footage. What up, Andrew? I tried inoculating. Oh, gosh. Okay, give me a second. There we go. My chat jumped. I actually thought that I was close to the end of the chat with this one, and no, the chat's been going, so I'll try to speed it up a little bit. What up, Andrew? I tried inoculating LC with 2 cc's from Smokehouse Pink syringe I got from you recently. It's not growing, so I assume I didn't shake the syringe enough to mix my solvent prior to. A couple of cc's ought to do it. So, you can shake it up really, really well to try to distribute it. You can use what's called a vortex mixer. I like those for my syringes that have been sitting around for a little bit, or ones that I want to try to mix thoroughly. Just a little vortex mixer. I think you can get them for like $30-$40 on Amazon. In fact, let's just. I want to remove that from studio. Don't want you guys seeing my private information on here, but I think we can get away without doing that. So, all right. Right here, Vortex Mixer. Oh, $109 now. It did not used to be $109, but that's the one that I've got is the 4E's Vortex Mixer. Even then, I mean, so would I pay $100 now for it? I'd probably just shake it by hand. But that's what I would try. Oh, prior to injection, should I start with a fresh new jar of LC or re-inoculate the first jar a second time and hope for? Do both. If you really want it for sure, do multiples. That's what I always do. So if there's something coming in from the Mycologium, I'll immediately take it, and I take it to like 3 or 4 dishes. If it's already in a dish, I'll take it to 3 or 4 dishes, 3 to 4 slants. I'll put it to liquid culture, and then I'll put it to a bag of spawn. And I'll basically completely use up that entire dish. Just doing a scatter effect. So, I mean, like, if you're trying to make sure that you get it, I would just try to do both. But honestly, you can re-inoculate the first jar if it's freaking screen's freezing again. Why is it freezing? I'm not doing anything. I've turned everything off. This is annoying. Ugh. And it keeps kicking me out. I'm going to have to just, because it keeps taking me to another tab. Okay. Anyways, I would just go ahead and re-inoculate it. I don't know what happens with it, why things keep freezing, guys. We'll see. You're very welcome, Steve. Do they use standard stir bars or something more substantial? They use Ben absolutely went and made, like, he's got a magnetic view strip that he went through, and he built magnetic arrays. Every stir plate has a magnetic array built into it. And this magnetic array is centered on the 1-inch stir bars. So the 1-inch stir bars are the best so far. So yeah, I mean, that's like, he knows that's what most people use. So he just built it off what people already hopefully have, and then what could be found affordably. So one of the reasons why I love Ben as a design person over any other mushroom manufacturer of equipment I can find. Some of those guys produce a quality equipment, but very few people put that kind of level of thought of what do they already have? How can I save the farmer money? How can I make sure that it fits into their basement operation? Like, I love Eric Myers' bagger. It won't fit into a basement operation easily, right? Ben's is made where you can literally just roll into a basement residential door because he knows so many people are starting farms in basements, that kind of thing. So you previously mentioned both LC and spawn after freezing. I only have experience with cubes, but my LC syringes froze in the fridge and seem to have died. Or are they not supposed to die? Well, cubes, if you've got cubes in the fridge, cubes freezing will kill them. They're tropical. So, be in good K after freezing. I mean, yeah, you can try them. You can try putting them on some plates and stuff. But I mean, but cubes, I don't think it's going to survive freezing. Pink oysters don't survive freezing. I had a bunch of pink oyster backups. In fact, that was part of what went wrong with the orders. So I had a bunch of pink oyster backups in the fridge, and they all froze. Every other strain I had in the worked out just fine. Definitely tribbles. Yeah, well, whoever was asking about the lion's mane earlier, tribbles is the one to go with, I think. Went to throw some old potting soil in the compost tumbler the other day, and there were 2 big, beautiful cubes growing in there. Well, interesting. So do you throw your old blocks, your spent substrate in there? Or would these possibly be from spores? Because that'd be kind of neat. What's up, Micro Nerd? I have a few questions. You use the Buller phenomenon in your practice to obtain new strains. Well, okay, so, I mean, don't we all? Let me make sure. Let me look up the Buller. Is a sexual event in Basidiomyces CD, where the carrot fertilized compatible. And one of those nuclei. Okay, so I most certainly do at times. Maybe I should have read that out loud. My bad, guys. I should have defined that for everybody. The Buller phenomenon is a sexual event in Basidiomycete fungi where a dikaryotic 2-nuclei mycelium can fertilize a compatible monokaryotic single-nucleus mycelium by donating one of its nuclei. This process transforms the monokaryon into a dikaryon and is distinct from the standard 2 haploid spores fusing. It allows for controlled genetic crosses, experimental evolution studies, and provides insight into nuclear selection and interactions with fungal hyphae. So there you guys go. And I've done it before, and I use it occasionally. It's not something that I necessarily do on purpose a lot. I'm sure you may even happen on accident for all I know on some stuff, the way I control things. But yeah, I mean, I've got a ton of strains I haven't released yet, like 4 or 5 generations worth of work, just because we're trying to figure out how to protect our IP. And we're doing like strain leasing and that kind of stuff. So, sorry, I just saw something else pop up. So I've got all these strains, and I've certainly, some of those have been created from the Buller phenomenon. How much empty space do you allow in LC jars? I've seen some people say not to fill more than 50%. To allow for enough oxygen for the mycelium, but I have basically zero experience with LC. Yeah, I mean, in a quart jar, I'll do 500 milliliters. It could do 1,000 milliliters, but then you're not going to have. What I'm mostly worried about is boil off. So, like if I'm cooking in the big autoclave, it likes to burp itself, right? And that sudden release, like you've got pressure, and then that sudden release of pressure will allow boil off to happen all of a sudden. Which when that sugar water boils, it'll like bubble and it can come out of your jar, because canning lids are made to work with vacuum in the jar. So whenever there's pressure from the inside going out, the lids can actually lift up a little bit. And that's especially for people who they'll like crank theirs down and then loosen it. I just crank mine down and leave them cranked. I mean, that's what the filter's for, is for the gas exchange. But even then, you don't want sugar water boiling off and getting up into your filter. So I like to do about half full. Sounds about right. Are there parts in a syringe of liquid culture that have no mycelium? So if it's a fresh syringe from us, then we churn that up on the plate and then we pull it. But there's going to be, like, if it stays in stock, there's going to be some settling, right? So you'll have some stratification where the mycelium will sink down to the bottom typically. Some mycelium will float, but most of it will sink. And then you'll have a space where it's like half and half. Now, just general movement of a syringe should keep that where it's pretty well mixed. But yeah, there are absolutely times when, I mean, you can look at it and see that that the only thing that could possibly be there would be microscopic mycelium you can't see right now. And that'd be little tiny bits. You really want that globby stuff you see inside the syringe to be evenly spread out, the fluffy mycelium bits. Black Pearl. Is there more information available today on what it actually is? I have researched that it is a complex hybrid with many back crosses. There's a lot of information now. It's not something that I've researched a lot of. It's a good strain. People like it. I don't really grow it a lot, and I don't really push it. But there is some stuff out now that shows that it is true hybrid. And who was it? There was a guy. He's actually bred it to other stuff, and he's got some really cool, like a blue version. And shoot, I've been meaning to actually try to go back and buy some of those to put in the library. But if somebody can remember his name, let me know in the comments, and we'll see if we can't get that guy some attention, because he's actually done a lot of the work and he's done some of the breeding work. But do the spores of this hybrid work? And what have been my results were that I never could get a strain that would fruit. Now, this guy, like I said, he got stuff to fruit, but I don't know if he ever got it to fruit. But like, I just bred it to itself. To me, it looks like he's been outcrossing stuff. So the outcrossing is definitely going to have a higher chance of success. So there's some of that going on, because I know that he's got different varieties, like a brown and a blue and that kind of stuff. And I believe that those are absolutely outcrosses. Outside of farmers markets, how much do strain aesthetics matter? I would imagine the most oysters, for example, look the same when sliced and cooked by chef. Well, I mean, no. If you're like, a mother of pearl looks wildly different than a king blue, and a king blue looks wildly different than a wild type, and a wild type looks wildly different than like a pulmonarius strain, and you have like, as far as aesthetics go, I mean, the chefs appreciate aesthetics, certainly, but mostly what they're interested in is texture and taste and price. Price is almost always forefront in a chef's mind, in my opinion. But there are chefs absolutely who care. Like, I'll pay a little bit more, but I mean, that price is still, that price point's still there. They've got to justify it to their accountants, to the people who are giving them their budgets, the owners. If it's a chef if it's chef owned, then they have a little bit more freedom to do stuff without justification. They can just justify it to themselves. But even then, I mean, like any business owner, it's always, they're going to be price conscious. So price is like super important. And then nothing you can't charge a premium, because they recognize that mushrooms are a premium product. And then the other side of that would be the taste and texture. I find that for oyster mushrooms, at least, the chefs seem most interested in texture, because they're going to mix it with stuff. They do appreciate flavor, but texture seems to be where it's at. Now, you have these phenotypes, so like mother of pearl, the smaller, more fragile caps, fruits in these beautiful bouquets. You have the king blue, which is a monstrosity that fruits in these big, thick meat wads, fungal flesh wads. You have oysters that are highly aromatic, like golden oysters and pinks. So you've got all of this stuff, and the chefs do pay attention to all of it, but we always found that chefs seem to like a variety box most. So the variety boxes seem to always be the best. We personally, in our farm, I told you guys earlier that we started the fresh mushrooms back up for commercial sales. Our farm is now focusing on shiitake and enoki, but I have the space and the infrastructure and the resources to make those worth it. Whereas when most people first starting off, I feel like you should stay away from shiitake, except in small amounts, because the labor on it and the real estate that you need, because you have to incubate them for so long. That's where I'm at, is that so we have Josiah VT fungi, we have Cade in the Misty Mountain, we have I can't remember the guy's name over at Beyond the Veil, and then there's another farm, I can't remember the name of either the person or the farm, that sells at least at the farmers market I know of. So like there's 4 other mushroom farms up in Knoxville. They're all doing oysters and lion's mane. I think Josiah's doing a little bit of specialties, but like I'm just moving straight up into the shiitake space. I've got a shiitake breeding program going. So that's where we're moving in with all that is the shiitake, enoki are my 2 flagships, and then I'm doing a little bit of hericium mixes and that kind of stuff. So what I'll do with all that is I'll create these mixed cases that'll have probably a mix of enoki and shiitake, or I'll also have like mono boxes, which will be just straight up shiitake. But I'm going to sell those at a premium, and that way I don't have to compete with Josiah or Caden or anybody else. I don't want to take their business. I don't want to get into a price war that doesn't help anybody. So what this allows us to do is kind of go in and offer basically chefs add-ons, right? Like, we already know that you like oysters, and oysters are your price-conscious mushroom. We're going to charge a premium for our shiitake. We'll even have a premium shiitake that we'll charge an extra premium on because they take longer, and more labor. And then, of course, the enoki is just like my favorite mushroom. So, so I hope that answers your question. Besides your health and preferring breeding, was there any other reasons you went away from commercial growing? When I started following you, you were still commercially growing. No, it was primarily health reasons. I had a really bad hypertensive crisis, like 3 years right after my brother did. It's right about the same time that my dad had one, about that same age. We just seem to have. I've struggled with high blood pressure since I was a teenager. So, and then come to find out, I had a really bad, thick blood, like really, really thick blood. So I actually ended up having to back off certain foods and that kind of stuff. And then right after I started recovering from the hypertensive crisis, like I was on blood pressure medication for about 3 months. They wanted me on a blood thinner. I'll take aspirin. every day instead of like the prescription, the one they wanted me to take. I got my blood pressure under control, and I managed that with diet, exercise, sauna, beet powder. By the way, if anyone's struggling with high blood pressure, beet powder has been the single most effective thing I have found. I just take a scoop of beet powder every morning. If I don't take it, my blood pressure can shoot up. But that stuff has been amazing. And then I just saw that there was a study released about this, where they're starting to play with treating hypertension with beet powder, and it's incredible to me how effective it is. But I was only on high blood pressure medication for about 3 months. Then after I started getting that under control and I was weightlifting, things were good. That's when I got sick, got hospitalized on oxygen for months. And I mean, the hypertensive crisis got me out of the commercial mushroom farming. I had planned to start it back up, and then having long COVID, kicked it down another year. I still have like scarring in my lung tissue. I have a little bit of organ damage still, a little bit of like I had a tremor for a long time. I don't have a tremor now, but there was a little bit of neurological damage that we think is repaired entirely. It's kind of hard to know that it's entirely out. One of my eyes still, like even with my glasses, things are slightly blurry, so my vision's changed. But that was the main thing. And then I didn't have a crew at that time. We were going through restructuring when all that happened. And so you talk about the past couple of years have actually been incredibly stressful and wearing on us. And then Samantha had to handle everything by herself for basically 2 years, and I could only help where I could help. I've had to focus almost entirely on recovery. So I was still I could do breeding, I could do culture work. So that's why we moved entirely to that. And then I had we had a stalker for a little while that we had fend off. We had this crazy war going on with a meth head from out back who kept trying to invade our warehouse and then trying to fight us. And he was here at like all hours. And when I first went on oxygen, we only had the one oxygen machine. So I was literally sleeping here in the warehouse because, I didn't want to take the oxygen machine back and forth. So I was just sleeping here at the warehouse so I could just keep the oxygen machine keep it over here so I could continue to work. And then he was coming by, I was literally having to sleep with a shotgun and stuff. So it was just a lot of stuff going on. It was quite stressful on Samantha and myself. And it's another reason we're just wore out from all this stuff. We're definitely expanding again. We're looking to start hiring again soon, that kind of stuff. But it's definitely been a stressful time. And we just kind of want to collapse back in a little bit on our local, group of friends and family, and just be able to do a lot more local community stuff. So that's kind of what really happened there. And I enjoy the commercial farming. I mean, that's the big thing is I miss it. I go back there and I work in the lab and I'm shaking those bags, and I tell Samantha, it's crazy how much you miss grunt work, what people would consider grunt work. Yeah, man, I don't know what to tell you. It's not illegal. I don't really have any recourse. I've got terms and conditions on my website now, and that's helped a lot. But the truth is that there's just not going to be any protections. And until then, people like me are going to do it for a little while at our own cost. And then I think we're going to find out that a lot of strain breeders I know are getting out. I'm not getting out, but I'm definitely curtailing. And I'm definitely it's hurt the community because I have some awesome shit that I've not released, and I'm not going to until I get protections on it. So I am offering stuff, but I just I'm not trying to be a protectionist, but I am absolutely trying to feed my family, and so some of this stuff will probably just get leased to extract companies or something. Excellent. I know it keeps freezing, but then it won't freeze for a long time. I've not had it freeze for a very long time, which probably means I'm due for it. Thanks for answering the phone Friday. Much love. You were awesome, and I love that you were able to tell me what's happening. Thanks again. You're very welcome. I don't actually know who this is. Who did I talk to Friday? That has been something since long COVID. My short-term memory is not what it once was. Andrew, when you freeze, thing happens. I could always see and hear you hear you ever well time. Right. Okay, good. Well, that's why I've not picked my nose or started cursing or anything like that. It's weird because it freezes, everything freezes, and the screen goes black. I have no idea what's going on. So I didn't even know that you guys could see me when that happens. Look at this. So I've lost weight, and my skin is getting loose, right? But this is, I want to tell you guys this real quick. My skin's getting loose. I'm getting these like little bat wings and stuff like that. Like I'm getting stronger. Like I'm definitely getting way stronger than I probably have ever been in my entire life. The strength training's going great, and the cardio that I'm starting to do is starting to help a lot. I really thought for sure I would have lost a lot of weight. My peak, I was 320 pounds, and I got down close to like 300, and then I went and weighed myself the other day next door at Ben's shop. I'm back up to 312. Nothing fits me. How in the world am I 312 pounds? How did I go back up like 12 pounds and still be nothing fits? Like, what is happening? How can I be 300 pounds? I'm only 6 foot. What is wrong? Hey, from England, new mushroom grower here. Excellent. That must be a full Scottish. That's a full Scottish breakfast I see there. Oh, fry up, man. Oh, we used to have a place here called Mug and Mason, and they had the best breakfast. And you could go get a full Scottish breakfast for $12. It was like a protein coma for $12. It was the best value. I miss that place. Crazy miss that place. Using a plastic-lined window bag that I punch holes in for 8-ounce bags of mushrooms, but they still accumulate condensation on the shelf. Rolling the top down helps any idea to prevent condensation. I feel like this was part of something. Did one of your comments get held for a review or something? Using a plastic lined window bag that I punch holes in for 8-ounce bags of mushrooms. Is this in the refrigerator, like in the walk-in? Is this fresh mushrooms then? I assume that you're getting condensation on. Cardboard. Use cardboard. Don't use plastic. Would be my guess, but you're gonna have to let me know, Zero, what you mean by that, because I feel like there was something missing there. GBT, because melanoidins are somewhat lignin-like in structure, or aromatic complex. Some studies suggest they can actually induce or modulate lignin peroxidase, manganese peroxidase production, though growth is usually reduced. Interesting. What's your thoughts on this, Philip? Philippe? That's Philippe, not Philip, right? Karsten. I have a grow tent and successfully grew large lion's mane fruits from blocks. I started to get an issue with fruits not maturing. They started browning. Is that most likely humidity contact? It can be. If it's is it browning or blackening? If it's blackening and oozing, that's probably the Black Death, which is bacterial. But a lot of times, if it's just browning, that could still be bacteria. Most likely, your humidity is too high. Make sure you have it swing up and down. And my humidity goes from 95 to 65%. 95% relative humidity, 65% relative humidity. Based on your advice, I've doubled my LC and Agar sterilization times. Explains why I've been having issues, especially with the LC. This is why I follow you. Online advice, common practice wasn't great. I'm glad I could help, man. But you're right. Yeah, I see a lot of stuff out there that it ends up being like I'm sitting there going, "You guys are crazy. Like, what is going on?" Can still hear you though. Video does freeze. Okay, so you can still hear me. Excellent. See, I'm getting more information. I like this. Philippe says, do you have any experience growing on Arundodona, giant reed or elephant grass? What do you think about cultivating stropharia directly on chopped up fresh biomass, maybe mixed with something else? So we did that with Tree of Heaven, which is an invasive tree here. We go out back. Our entire lot is just lined with it, and it grows very straight, so it's very easy to chip. I got a cheap electric chipper. The boys will go out there with hatchets and machetes and cut them down, bring, like racks of these poles out, and then we just run it through the chipper shredder, and then we mixed. We actually threw that in bags and then grew wine caps through that. But you can absolutely do that. Now, as far as giant reeds or elephant grass, in my space farming system that I've been designing for fun, and the hopes that one day, I can own the sewer dome on Mars, but the reeds are absolutely there. Like let them go brown and then grow them out. I have sedges, reeds, river cane, things like that out there growing in my swamp gardens, my aquatic gardens, and that is absolutely something that we're planning on doing is trialing that out to see how it goes. Elephant grass as well, duckweed for the nitrogen, et cetera, et cetera. What's that, baby? Welcome. Huh? You are back. You ready to do the unboxing? Sure. Ooh. Oh, goodness. I have a lot of chat to catch up on. The stems are very lignified. Yeah, I think it'll work great. All right, so I'm going to let Samantha open it. Yeah, you open it. And then I'll get back to the comments. But I got this because you said that you would like it. And I had a little help from a friend of ours. It is artwork. It is artwork from a friend of ours. And you said you'd love to have it in a big poster. You know what I'm talking about? Is this from who? From Josh McGinnis? It might be from Josh McGinnis.
Dude, very talented individual. Oh my gosh, it is.
Mm-hmm.
What? I'm so excited. Oh, how big is this? If I drop
It's pretty big. You would just go ahead and drop it, I guess. But.
Oh my gosh.
So this is Josh McGinnis's work of the rare molds and fungi and bacteria and stuff.
Hold it.
I think we have it upside down somehow. I guess it doesn't matter, does it? They didn't do it. Some of these are actually organisms that he found on that bioprospecting trip we did together in the cave, and I think this one right here is from Mossy Creek, right down the road, at the bog where he got the bog soil. And then one of these I think is from our basement in the sunflower seed pit, the grain pit in the basement. So how cool is that? It's a whole different level seeing it this large. He obviously took very high resolution photos of this. Yep. I mean, I feel like it looks pretty impressive. Oh, that one, the one that looks kind of like a butthole. That's you remember that one? And then we zoomed in on it, and it has these little fingers around it, so it looks like the mouth of a sandworm. But isn't that pretty? Samantha, I'll have to show this to Josh, but Everyman Bio, Josh McGinnis, Samantha wants to cut this up into pieces, kind of. But well, so he gave me the original file so I could make this for you, and he gave me the high resolution original photo, and then so what you could do with that is you could go and we could have individuals printed if you want to take them. I'd like to do it and frame some of them, probably put them up in the lab. I don't know where you're going to put it. There is so many cool places. All right, I'm going to get back to the chat. Do you guys have sugar beets in the States? Yes, we produce a lot of sugar beets in the States. There's a lot of talk here amongst mycologists about using it as alternative soy holes. Yeah, I've used it as an alternative soy holes. I mean, as far as consensus goes, I would just look up the protein content. You want somewhere around 4.5 to 5% protein. So there you go. That's what I calculate out things to. Thanks, Ben. Tell Ben I said thank you for the old Death of Thor and Mousetrap teardown videos. I will tell him. That was the whole thing that we wanted to do, is we just wanted to get it on record. That's actually what Mossy Creek Mushrooms was about to begin with, was we were just documenting our progress, and then it kind of blew up on us, and I didn't realize. Nowadays, I mean, it's gotten harder and harder, which is weird because, Mike Crow of Southwest, as far as I know, he's out of the business. Most of the YouTube guys from early in the day are gone. Jackie! What's up, Jackie? Jack, I don't know if he still is on here, but Jack's on here. Oh, Jackie, I miss you and Tristan so much you guys would not even understand. Smith,
Not the same.
Smith said, yeah, it's not the same. But the joy has gone out of my life since you two have left me. I used to laugh every day. So pink oysters can be fridged for some time? Absolutely they can. Especially the spawn. Spawn will go, but liquid culture and all that stuff, as long as it doesn't freeze. For commercial grows, have you noticed the seasonality in regards to demand? Absolutely. Our May and October have always been our highest grossing months during summer. August being our lowest. August has always been our lowest grossing month, but we didn't do farmers markets at that time. So maybe if I'd done farmers markets, I would have gotten more. But I don't like going out in the heat and sitting. So, but yeah, summer was always the lowest. Basically, you got to think of it this way: for a lot of things, mushrooms are the opposite season of everything else. Mushrooms peak season is the wintertime for most places, in part because you're not competing with the rest of the produce. So in the summertime, there are dollars, same amount of dollars chasing more and more produce. And then in the wintertime, very few people actually have fresh produce. So all of a sudden, if you want fresh produce, mushrooms are the thing, right? So, but we always found that the spring and fall were always our best seasons, winter being our third best and summer being our worst season. When doing strain breeding, what do you actually look for? Besides faster growth or bigger yields, what traits does an oyster or hericium need to exhibit to be worth giving a name and selling? So for me, I'm phenotype hunting, right? I'm kind of doing what like a lot of these guys in the cupensis world do, which is I'm literally looking for strange and unusual stuff. I want to create novels. My goal has always been to create novel new strains that look different. I want to be able to go to a market. The example I give is when I was at the farmer's market, there was a tomato grower next to me. I had 5 different species of mushroom on my table. So I had 5 radically different looking things. 5 species, 5 different things, sale points. He had 1 species, tomato, solanum, whatever. He had tomatoes, and he had like 30 varieties that were wildly different from each other, 1 species. So he had like 30 different varieties for 1 species, and I had 5 different species to get 5 different varieties. So I was like, well, certainly it stands to reason that you should be able to selectively breed oysters, and there should be phenotypic differences. So that's where like mother of pearl comes from. And a lot of people don't realize like mother of pearl, king blue, BS26, rocky top. Most of my most famous strains are from my first generations of selective breeding. My even more complex and different and strange things are mostly still in the lab and in slants and not been opened up in a while. In fact, some of them I'll sell to the chefs, but right now, like a lot of them I'll keep bottled up because if I sell them to chefs or farmers markets or grocery stores, they could just be cloned. And I need to protect these for leasing because if I lease it to a company, that's going to be an exclusive agreement. So in fact, my big thing was that oyster mushroom breeding it's just been stuck in a rut. With mushroom breeding, agaricus, all this stuff, it is almost entirely about, can I squeeze a little more speed out of it? Can I squeeze a little more yield out of it? Maybe a little bit of disease resistance, that kind of stuff. And it's just like, no, I want wild, different, strange. That's what I want. I want things to be as wild and different and strange as I can possibly get it. One second, guys. I'm going to go do a, what do you call it? Sponsorship.
Introducing the future of mycology, Dr. Silurian's elixir of mycelial mastery. This isn't your average culture mix. It's a revolution in a packet, crafted for the dedicated cultivator seeking unparalleled growth. Experience the visual alchemy of this masterful brew. As you mix 10 grams with 500 milliliters of water, watch the solution transform into a rich, amber spectacle, the hallmark of a nutrient-dense sanctuary for your burgeoning mycelium. This is where vibrant color meets vibrant life, setting our elixir apart from the ordinary clear liquid cultures. Prepare to be captivated. Mix 10 grams of Dr. Silurian's elixir with 500 milliliters of water, add a stir bar for thorough integration, and sterilize the blend at 15 psi for 45 minutes. Once cooled, introduce your favorite culture into this perfectly prepared, nutrient-rich environment Watch in awe as the elixir works its magic, unveiling a mycelial masterpiece before your eyes. Choose Dr. Silurian's Elixir of Mycelial Mastery for a mycological adventure that's as visually enchanting as it is potent.
All right, I'm back. Can you talk more about your shiitake? I remember you said it was hard to compete with the China-based farms of shiitake was more shelf-stable. So most bought from China. How are you making it work? So in my experience now, having gone through shiitake a couple of years ago, and even now contacting my chefs, basically I've already got sales for far more than what I'm currently going to be growing. So I've got to actually figure out, I got to produce more, not figure out. I got to hire somebody in as soon as I can get the budget together for it, and just get someone to come in to do regular production. And then as soon as stuff starts getting ready for harvest. But yeah, the enoki, my white gold enoki, I've sent pictures to chefs like, hey, do you want the standard small spaghetti noodle kind, or do you want this thicker kind? He's like, I'll take 2 boxes today. And I'm like, no, I don't have them today. This is for when they'll be ready. And he's like, oh, I want those white golds because they, they'll take they'll take to the smoker better. And plus they can get the little ones from the Asian markets. I'm the only person to be able to get the bigger stem enoki from. So anyways, with that comes also shiitake, and you have I've been doing a lot of research into it, and it is harder to deal with. If you've got people who are very price conscious, the big guys are going to win. But the tariffs are changing some of that. Now, granted, they've got loopholes and everything else, but the agricultural situation in the States is getting to the point where I'm going to doubling down on farming. I'm doubling, tripling, quadrupling down on farming. Hey, Brody, welcome home. How was school? Okay. About the same. We'll talk about it later. So anyways, from what I'm finding, like $10 to $12, like $10 is my minimum. That's going to be for my cheapest Koshin varieties. Koshin being the Japanese title for the grade of shiitake that is a smooth cap and fragrant. Then you have Danko, which is typically a larger, meatier capped variety, oftentimes with a cracked cap. And those you can charge an even better premium for. So I'm going to have a variety. I've got a whole business plan on this, and maybe one day I can actually, I'll break it down and show it to you guys, like where I'm moving to. But what I'm moving to is where at every stage in the process, I get paid. So, and we can break that down at some point. But yeah, for now, like the labor is the worst part of shiitake. The labor and the real estate. And I have solved a large portion of the real estate problem. Again, me not talking exactly about me being not open source. I'm actually not sharing some of this stuff for the time being, simply because it has been pointed out to me that I need to stop making everybody else rich and start making myself some money at some point. So, because I'm basically 40. I'm 40 in a very short period, and I got to start banking on my retirement. So that said, I'm teaching mentorships, everything. I'm an open book with mentorships for sure. And I'm still very much an open book as far as like helping people get into the game on that side of things. But some of my new stuff will be reserved. But that's how I'm making it work, is that I'm charging a premium. I'm talking to the chefs, and they seem to want fresh. And it seems like people now know that these shiitake companies are coming in from China and calling it American grown or Georgia grown or, whatever. So I think the chefs are getting wiser as well. Well, I'm not sure what crazy times you're referring to, because obviously there's a delay from where I'm talking. You guys are responding, but I generally agree. We live in the craziest times. We live in some of the most interesting times that there has ever been. Sometimes it's hard to remember to get out of our short-sightedness and remember that we live in an awesome and amazing time. And this game that we call life is going to end at some point, and we ought to enjoy the game, win or lose, right? So I'm trying to remind myself of that every day. You probably mentioned the guy Dan from the farm Sprout It. He has some really great results and information. I saw that German. I've definitely mentioned him. He had a whole shoot. What was that video about? I definitely know who you're talking about. He has some really great results and information. I saw that German hobbyist also managed to grow mushrooms from spores of black pearl. Oh, you're saying that's who I'm talking about. Okay, I'll have to check it out. I don't feel like it was Dan, but it may have been Dan that did the new breeding, but I could be wrong. Yes, I agree. Life is beautiful. Jesus Christ, crazy past couple. Yeah, it has been, man. It's been hard for sure. Live a beautiful life. Thank you, Hendrix. I appreciate that. Yeah, we had we definitely had a rough couple of years, that's for sure. But I'm on the mend, and everything else is, as I'm able to come on, we're able to do more and more for the business. I called about my LC order, and you're waiting for some things to come in. Okay. Yeah, man, you're absolutely very welcome. Yeah, we're selling. You guys are moving through the Dr. Solarians, and I'm glad because I'm starting to see repeats, and that's my favorite. I love it because if someone has bought something 3 times, I know we're doing a good job and we got a good product, and they've noticed a difference. So I appreciate that. Yeah. Dang, I'm late. What up? What's up, Colin? I don't think you're late. You're just not here at the beginning. What's up, Donnie Brasco? And Mass Mofo. Muscle weighs more than fat. It does. I know. But that much? Like, I shouldn't be 312 pounds. I mean, come on. Like, that's crazy, right? I mean, I am going to start the cardio up a little bit. More walking. I got to get back to weight lifting heavier, though. I want a doorbuster build. I want to walk around looking like I could just walk through a door. I always saw making new strains as being an issue. You see it with cubes where a inventor of a strain has like 5 weeks of exclusivity before everyone rips them off. No incentive to make, and that's exactly what's happening, man. And it sucks because it hurts because these few bad apples want to take the shortcut. They want to take the shortcut, and they want to race to the bottom because they don't give a shit about the long-term health of the. maybe how do I put it? I'm the golden goose, right? Like I'm the golden goose. I keep Ben and I and Samantha keep bringing out one new thing after another, new strains, new techniques, new pieces of equipment, and thankfully for Ben, the equipment is protected. Samantha's done artwork for people, and then they not pay her, or people not want to pay her, or so we've had to really clamp down on that kind of stuff with the artwork she's doing for people's farms because people will say, "Oh yeah, I would love this," and then Samantha didn't want to ask for payment up front, and then she would do it and show them, and then they were like, "Well, okay, how much?" And she would try to tell them, they're like, "It's way too much," and she's like, "That's like 50% off compared to most." I'm trying to. So it's just like, I don't know. We try to be nice and giving, and it's end up. Unfortunately, a few bad apples are ruining it for a lot of people because it's hard. I mean, so to kind of give you an idea of this very issue, who did it? Which channel was? So he did 3 different blue oyster mushrooms, and one was my BS26. And he was like, I'm gonna rate them on all these different factors. And the BS26, I think, was a little slower and a little lighter than the other 2. But he was like, the color, the texture, etc. BS26 wins. And then I saw 6 different comments from 6 different people saying, hey, you should try so-and-so's King Blue. And every single comment was a different person. Hey, you should try Mushroom Mesa's King Blue. You should try Mycelium Emporium's King Blue. You should try so-and-so's King Blue. Well, I was the originator for King Blue, right? So not a single comment where it's try Mossy Creek Mushrooms King Blue, like even if you got it from another source. That kind of, I'll be honest, that kind of hurt a little bit because I was just like, man, that's one of the most popular strains out there, and I see people selling it, using my photos. Now, Lenny Rockwell has permission to sell it on Mycelium Emporium, and he has permission to use my photo for it. That and the Pathfinder. Those are the two that he's got permission for. And that's because Lenny helped me out very early on in the process. He helped me get started in liquid culture before I became an expert in it. And because of that, I was just like, yeah, dude, absolutely, that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't mean to whine or bitch about it because I'm taking precautions and taking care of myself. I know there's no legal recourse. I'm just explaining how it hurts the community overall, because people like Jake Howard are now no longer wanting to sell strains, because he would sell strains, they'd get on to somewhere else. And he's like, look, I may have made $5,000. Well, how's $5,000 sounds like a lot of money until you realize how much work and how that was like over 2 years. Right. So then he's like, okay, well, I'm doing all this work for something that's not helping, which is why we're starting to sell some of his strains, but he gets a kickback for every single one that he brings to me that we sell. And granted, we've just got the first one right now, which is the Moon Pearl oyster, which is super cool. I'm super proud of that one. That was a collaborative one between us. He got the initial mutation, and then I strengthened it through selective breeding. But yeah, I mean, he actually sent me spores of the blob, or what he called the King Blue Truffle, because his was still producing a little bit of gill tissue, and mine's not. But like, there's all this collaboration that could be happening, and because of the ability to just take it and then not only sell your product, but to completely undercut it. Again, I'm not trying to whine, but yeah, it makes you frustrated. It makes you just go, well, this could be an incredibly valuable thing that would completely drive the industry forward and help all these people. But because a few people want to take these shortcuts and just completely cut the golden geese out, so to speak, a lot of people don't want to do it. This is why people, like some of the bigger companies that sell spawn don't really produce their own strains, because there's no real need to or reason to.
I have something to say in this regard.
Do you? Well, here, put the headset on so they can hear you.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they're not going to hear you otherwise.
Oh, just the
Because
microphone.
look, yeah, see, you were only reading, but if you speak now, see, it's not even picking me up.
I see. So you can pick me up now. So I heard you say something about not wanting to whine, and I can tell you as Andrew's wife and someone who has seen him work very hard and very diligently on things, and selectively choosing aspects and characteristics of these strains that he knows are going to be long-term beneficial aspects. I don't know what else to say. But
Sorry, actually, I was reading something there.
okay,
I'm kind of listening.
gotcha. But in support of him, and also in my line of work with the artwork, if you were to take someone who creates art, just put it in perspective. If you were to take someone who created a piece of artwork, they didn't patent it, they didn't have their name attached to it or whatnot, and then you decided to sell that artwork, and you basically told everyone that it was a piece of crap, that it didn't work well, that it didn't, it was inherently unstable or something like that. But then you continue to sell that artwork and prints of it, and you continue to profit off of it, and you continue to naysay it while profiting off of it.
While calling me an a-hole and a misogynist on your podcast.
There's a little bit of there's a little bit of hypocrisy there, on top of what would be the word where I don't know. I'm getting frustrated and I'm forgetting. I'm getting frustrated and protective on your behalf.
You don't need to defend me.
I understand that, but I want to. And so there, I don't know. There's just this, again, not trying to make this something that we complain about, but I see this more in an educational route. If you go down this route where you make your nut, so to speak, you start making money on breeding, on strains, on parts of the business.
You've got no protection.
it is difficult, and this goes for botany. This goes if you're going into like the apple industry. There you have all these individuals whose names I didn't know of until recently, like going to the grocery store and buying an apple. And it has a perfect taste and a perfect texture, and it makes a gorgeous apple pie. And there's all these aspects. Someone put time and love and dedication into that, and it's just you then have those names as household names. And I've not quite seen. I know it's all cutthroat in many ways, and Andrew does these podcasts in part for that transparency, for people to kind of see the inner world of the industry if they're thinking about getting into it, or you've already been in the industry for a while, and you have your camps that you've been gearing toward, or sides you've taken, or whatnot. It can be really hard to protect yourself while also giving of yourself, while also thinking of your family, and then the other people's that you deal with on a daily basis, their families. Like, it's not just about you. It's also not just about everyone else. Like, it's a part of being a part of one another in many ways. And I've always felt this way. I know Andrew has too. Ben is a big one. He comes from a very big family, and you take care of each other, even if sometimes if it's at your personal expense. Like, you're willing to do things for other people because you want the best for them, and that's a valuable personality in my opinion. But I also don't blame Andrew or want hardship toward Andrew or anyone for that matter, Jacob Howard or anyone who wants to protect their intellectual property. And that's my 2 cents.
That's your 2 cents.
Probably took 2 minutes.
That's probably more like 30 cents. Nah. All right. Now, let's get off the serious matters. That was regarding caramelization. Ah, gotcha. What was that? Philippe? Oh, my goodness. How far up was this? Maybe I've gone too far. I've definitely gone too far. What does your picture look like again? Okay. Nope. Not finding it. My bad. Browning. You talking about for like the agaricus mushroom? They've kind of bred for some browning and stuff, yeah. Or are you talking about the caramelization? Muscle is denser than fat and takes up less space. Well, yeah, but I just can't imagine that I've gained that much muscle. I mean, I've definitely gotten ridiculously strong again, but and I'm basically built to be a power lifter, but yeah, bags go on my local market shelf and open front shelf with other things like microgreens. Philippe, I'm growing giant reed for trying to grow on. Did you pasteurize the biomass? I'm thinking no pasteurization for the Arundo reed. As an outdoor soil building venture, not focused on productivity. Interesting. Mycologist or gay. Mycologist. I hit you up on Discord. So there you go. Okay, he said yes. So you can hit him up, Philippe. I guess I have a question. Ordered some North Spore snow oyster. They colonized fine, but are refusing to fruit after like 3 weeks now. Probably your temperatures. Have yet to see pins. All the other oyster varieties grow just fine. That North Spore really likes it. What's up, Scott Barger? Boy, it's been a minute since I've seen you on the... And honestly, you said that at 3:52. It's been almost 40 minutes. Same Philippe, interested in soil building and using would-be wasted resources at our end of the system. Yeah, Mike Agar and I were actually talking about that yesterday. Love that poster art. Isn't that cool? I thought that was so cool. Also, I'm doing my master's on that model. What's your tag on Discord? Oh, yeah, I'm supposed to get back to you on something about that. All right, crap. Philippe, you might want to ping me again and remind me. Maybe we can sit down and voice and have a chat about it or something. You previously said that growing mushrooms only on sugar gives them mushroom diabetes. So for a homemade LC mix, you'd say that it's good to add yeast extract. I mean, you can. It's not a problem if you keep going back to slants, right? Like slants. And I saw someone was asking about pouring dishes and how thick. And I was going to use these as an example, and I can't find that. But as far as like liquid culture, you can go full sugar. It's better to have a more nutritive mix, in my opinion. That's why I made the Dr. Solarians. This said, you can grow it on mostly sugar bases for that rapid expansion, and there are things that you can do to protect the mycelium. I don't need the. It's a fill line. Where? Oh, you talking about? That's not the fill line. These are barriers. Oh my gosh, you're right. There is a fill line.
Where I fill them.
Why have I never noticed that? And then right there on the tri-plate. Oh, there we go. Okay, I gotta remember it's the screen's mirrored. Anyways, yeah, add a little bit of something, but the yeast extract's not gonna stop the fact that you're feeding it sugar. Now that said, you go through liquid culture, you go to your end product. You just don't want to go liquid culture to liquid culture to liquid culture forever. Be cognizant of what you're doing, and just make sure that there's a couple of different strategies that we talk about. But like going back to slant, you can take a needle biopsy of this, and this will make a couple hundred jars. I mean, not in theory. Effectively, it'll make, you could make 50, 60 jars, but maybe 100, but if you really want to push it. But the idea is that you keep going back to a culture that's stored. You can see sawdust in there. Now, talking about how deeply to pour something, I was just going to let you know, because you were saying that this was somebody talking about you could scrape it off the top. These are two different slants here. Both of these had dye in them when they started. And you can see as it goes to eat, it'll eat down all that food coloring, and it goes away. This one was just inoculated on this was day 225. So excuse me. You can see that the mycelium's eating that all the way down. So just because you can't see the mycelium in the agar does not mean that agar isn't just completely, utterly grown through with mycelium. Typically what will grow is it grows a generative mycelium and then a binding mycelium through. Also, it kind of gives it that skin on the top. I've had the same experience with snow oyster. Maybe not cold enough. Yeah, if you cold shock them, maybe that'll help. But also, snow oyster is very much a wintertime oyster. So 950 grams hardwood fuel pellets and 50 grams sugar beet by weight. I can't. I would have to do the math. I would need to know the protein content of sugar beet, and then I would need to know. Well, yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. I would need to know, but I'm still kicking. I'm glad you are, Scott. I hope you're still around and hearing me actually talk to you. Pleurotus austriatus variant columbinus. Do you have any interesting data on this variety? Over the past several years, I've observed genetic drift. Changes are always different and quite fascinating. I mean, I've got some experience with it. I guess I've got some data on it as well. I know that whenever I bred it to a couple of other oyster varieties and was able to get different shades of blue and a couple of different sources or whatever that I'm throwing the blue to. I showed that to a couple of people that were experts, and they got very excited about how I was proving that you could grow the columbinus with the other types of austriatus, and even I crossed it with a pulmonarius. So, I mean, but other than that, like, I don't really know what kind of data you're looking for. But it's a pretty wide ranging variant. I will say that for like breeder speak, a variant is just a strain, right? So you might as well say Pleurotus austriatus strain columbinus, and columbinus would be the blue strain of austriatus. But nowadays we know that's not correct. I mean, it's correct, but it's not the only. Like, there are a lot of different blues at this point, and it's not really a species thing. The variant is actually usually more like strain talk. So, for instance, let's say I take an Ajvarsky pepper and I breed the Ajvarsky pepper. I save the seeds every year, and I grow it for 7 years. We could do a Ajvarsky pepper variant. I mean, do the species name variant Ajvarsky Jefferson City 7, right? Like something like that. And there are people that do this. They'll take a variety, they bring it into culture, and then they grow it, breed it, and then adapt it to that climate, and then add a variant of either the location or the person breeding it or the number of generations that it's been bred to that environment, that kind of thing. So I don't know if that's the kind of the stuff you're looking for. Yeah, look, I like making weird looking cubes. I mean, that's what a lot of people start off with when they get into breeding. I'm actually weird in that, I got into mushrooms through the gourmet side. So most guys I know got into it through the active side. And I've had interest in that it helped me one time with, brain splitting cluster headaches and that single dose. And I had never had a cluster headache since. That was crazy cool. But other than that, I just find the psychedelics to be kind of boring. In that aspect, like I just won't find that to be them most amazing. So my son is quite strong and has a good ability to recover. Talk about the Pleurotus austratus variant. Yo, it definitely is. Like I love It's like it's one of those that's a powerhouse. Mike Agar, how can I message you? Agar, you are in my Discord, aren't you? I'm bad at phrasing this, but when pheno hunting, do the strains actually increase sales outside of farmers markets? Do the people ordering in bulk care that you have that many different types? So in bulk, not typically. They want you to find one type and be consistent with it. Or, like I was saying earlier, do mixed cases. That really helps. If you do mixed cases, you do 2 clusters of this, 2 clusters of this, 2 clusters of this. And you've got like 6 clusters in a box, and they average out a little bit over 10 pounds. You can do like a chef's choice or a farmer's choice or mixed chef's mix, or I don't know what you call it, but you can do a bunch of that stuff. As far as like farmers markets, it absolutely, I've seen, helps increase sales. But also, you got to take this from the farmer side of things. Having diversity of phenotype, genotype, etc., through your grow room protects you from failure. If you have only one type in there and you grow only that one type and it fails, then you got a problem, right? You've ruined that cash flow for that week, and that hurts a mushroom farmer big time. We're pretty dependent on cash flow because we're producing every week. So it just depends, I guess, the answer. And I have chefs that care very much about wanting crazy different things, and then I had chefs that want the one thing and they want you to stick to the one thing, and that's all they wanted. So the answer is it depends, as always. That's right. Scar Barger is demand. So says Jack. Get that money. And you're glad to be alive at the same time as you folks. I'm glad to be on here with you guys as well. Do you have alternate options to UPS shipping to Canada? UPS is really hated by us for their ridiculous holding fees, lol. So we're probably have to go back to USPS. We've had this weird stuff going on to where, yeah, choose USPS in the drop down on our site when ordering. The UPS it's not just UPS though. It's a lot of it's customs. They're like holding people's orders and then like charging them fees or rent or whatever. And they never have done this until a lot of it's the tariffs, the trade wars going on. We're actually reevaluating doing international. So we've got some international orders come through, but yeah, I mean, we may just have to FedEx stuff. FedEx still seems to be moving okay, but I mean, everything's at a point right now. I'm actually been doing a lot of studying into the economy, and I'm very interested to see where things are going. And I've got some predictions, but of course, I'm not an expert. So I'm interested to see if my predictions will be right. I made a tiny little sum off of silver. I wish I'd had more money back then to invest in silver back when it was still $14 an ounce, because I bought like from $14 an ounce to about $24 an ounce, and now it's like $40-something an ounce. So at the very worst, I've made like $22 an ounce on the silver speculation. But again, I never did that much because I never had that much money to speculate with and to begin with. So I've been making fruiting blocks for a few months now, and my main problem currently is a lack of proper timing and organization to be able to meet specific deadlines. Farmers market, for example, advice. Is this, huh? Well, so there's a couple of different things. Samantha and I like to average things out. So our thing would be like we would try to plant the same amount of blocks every week of the same types. So oysters and oysters. It didn't have to be the exact same oyster. Inokies or whatever lines, whatever we're planting, we wanted to just have it. And you want to try to plant on the same days each week. And then something that we would do would be the first blocks that we were inoculating, we would inoculate heavy, and the last blocks that we inoculated light. And so what we were trying to do was basically get the grow room to where not everything was fruiting at once, so that we could spread it out. And then kind of like how cash flow works, you want that mushroom flow, right? Where you can rob Peter to pay Paul. Kind of thing. That's all I can say. As far as like weekends, if you want a weekend off, the day before your weekend, you just pick that grow room down to pens and leave only pens. And that way you get 2 days off. I was talking to somebody about this earlier. So many people tell me they work 7 days a week. Do not work 7 days a week. It's fucking ridiculous. Sorry, I shouldn't have cussed. I usually try not to say the F word, at least not online. Or around the kids. Or, huh? Yeah, you gotta rest. Right now, Samantha and I are burning the candle at both ends, trying to get the mushroom farm going and keep up with the surge of online stuff. And we're tired. We're really tired. And I mean, I think it's okay to work 7 days a week for a push, but I mean, once you get past, you got to have an end point to that push. You gotta have that push only for a certain amount of time, kind of thing. Renegade Mushrooms was the one who did this comparison you were talking about. Yeah, about when he did the 3 comparison, and then the people, all those comments about you got to try so and so's King Blue. Lenny's pretty awesome. I haven't talked to Lenny in forever, but Lenny he's back when I was talking to him, at least he had a heart of gold. I assume that it has not changed. I remember and record where my cultures came from. I tell everywhere I got my favorite shit cubes and gourmets. I appreciate that. Your breeders will appreciate that. Look, at the very least, like if you're going to sell my stuff, could you put my name on it as the originator? I try to do that with other people if I'm selling their stuff, which I never do really sell people's stuff. I just try to generate my own. And if I do sell it, like this Moon Pearls, that was a collaboration, not only do I try to pay kickback. So, but see, that's the thing. And when you go down to $11.50 a syringe, you ain't got room for kickbacks. And so, and then not only, I'm not getting back on it. I'm not going to do it. Not going to do it. What's up, Andrew? Higo from India was wondering how you would clean up some cultures on Petri dishes using water agar. How long would LC last refrigerated in a syringe? So LC's harder to do on water agar for a couple of different reasons. One, when you put liquid culture on a dish, it actually, that liquid will spread the bacteria around, same as the on the surface of the agar, as the mycelium. What I would do for liquid cultures, if I have to clean up a liquid culture, is I take as deep a dish as I can. Those little screw tops from my no pour video are actually perfect for this, and I pack it with moist sawdust. And then the moist sawdust gets sterilized. And then what I do is I take that dish after it's been sterilized, and I will unscrew it, and I inoculate one side of the dish. So if you got the circle here, I would inoculate like over here instead of the center. So you inoculate the side, and then if I can, I close that dish back up and store it leaning with the liquid culture inoculated side down. That way the mycelium has to grow up through the sawdust, and then I clone. So if let's say I've got my dish right here, and I inoculate on this side, I'm going to clone from this side. And that way it's growing through all that sawdust, because bacteria doesn't like sawdust, but you want unsupplemented sawdust for that. That's how I clean up liquid culture. If I bought something and it's in liquid culture, and that's the only thing I've got liquid culture, because otherwise I don't try to clean up liquid culture. It's just a pain. But if that's all I've got, that's how I do it. I don't use water agar for that. I will, if I'm cloning something or doing agar to agar transfers, then the agar helps to act as a fat reserve for the mycelium. And then you put it on water agar and it just grows across. But again, so we've got our culture cleanup mix. And the culture cleanup mix, the premix that we're doing, is a charcoal-based, activated charcoal-based agar, but it has other nutrients in it. But all of them are difficult for bacteria and molds to eat, and primarily only good for, or only white rot fungus is really able to eat it. It is like looking into a void. It is so black, but I've been having very good results with anything that needs to be cleaned up. So if I do wild mushrooms, I like to go wild mushroom to Dr. Solarian Spore Kindler, which allows it to get some good growth. And then I'll take that, transfer that to the culture cleanup mix. And when I grow off that, I then transfer it back to the Spore Kindler. And that way I've usually got really clean stuff by that point. Looking to start a small-scale hobby grow for personal and to share. Just doing ready to fruit blocks for now. Do you have affiliates or recommends for grow tents and other fruiting stuff? No. I mean, I recommends probably. As far as your grow tent, I mean, I would just use like a Vivo Sun tent or a Gorilla style tent or something like that. The Vivo Suns, I think, are what I've been using for my sauna. You can always do a stick frame and plastic as well yourself if you're wanting to save money, but Vivo Sun would be the way I do it. You know, some LED lights, that kind of stuff, that are grow room lights that are rated for higher moisture environments. You don't want to burn your place down. There's the as far as humidifiers go, I like House of Hydro. You can use code Mossy with that one. You get about, what is it, like $50 worth of free replacement discs with that. I think it knocks $1 off your order, but it's like with that comes 50% free replacement discs, and or not 50%, $50 worth, and I get a 10% kickback on that. As far as medias go, you know, some stuff you can get from Plant Cell Technology. You can use Mossy on that one. I get a kickback on that one as well. So those would be like for media and whatnot. For your Petri dishes, if you're doing that stuff, which you just said ready to fruit blocks, but Petri dishes and stuff, we have an affiliate with Cell Treat. And if you go to Cell Treat and use Mossy 2025, you'll save 25% on your order with Cell Treat. So those are all pretty neat. But yeah, that's about the only affiliates I've got. I do have I am an Amazon affiliate, and I need to get some links put up, but you would have to use the links. So, and I can't do that here. I understand why you're upset, frustrated with the strain issues. I would be too, 100%. I appreciate that. Say what it is, stealing. I mean, I feel that way, but apparently not everyone does. And I've actually been told that I'm a whiner for, you know, whatever. You ready to wrestle yet? Since you feel better? Scott, I've been ready to wrestle since I was on oxygen, man, if it means wrestling you. That's right, I was going to take that oxygen tube and just lasso you up. I'm just playing. Scott's probably like crazy farm strength. He's like a tiny little guy with like probably crazy freaking strength from working the farm. Sorry about the side convo. No, why are you sorry about the side convo? In your mind, how would it work with the strains? If someone was a commercial grower and wanted to work with you, I'm thinking how you prevent a customer of good faith grower from cloning a strain. Yeah, I mean, so a commercial grower, we would just have a lease. So the way we would have to do it is I have a strain, or you agree that when using my strains, that you would have to have written permission. Like even buying from my website, technically, you're not supposed to make spawn with it. I don't do anything like it because if you're making your own spawn, obviously that's what it's for. But I think the technicalities are you're not allowed to sell it in any format other than fresh mushrooms, extracts, and that kind of thing is what people agree to. Now, that said, if I have people, like right now I've got a royalty deal with somebody. We're making ready to fruit blocks with my strains. And this is some of the new ones too. Like they have access to the new ones, not just the old ones. Because they signed the paperwork agreeing to a certain percentage and of blocks sold, that kind of thing. And they have written permission to sell that. So but basically it's just contractual. That's the only way to control it. Again, there's only so much you can protect. Like if I sold spawn to somebody who grew it they stock a grocery store. Someone comes to the grocery store and buys a mushroom and clones it. There is no protection. I have no protection against that because I didn't make an agreement with that person. So this is one of those things where Dr. Oman, he sells only to extract companies. He leases his strains and leases them for a lot of money, a lot less than I'm asking for right now. But Dr. Oman, to be fair, has been in this industry a lot longer than I have. And I think he's got like 3 big time leases that he does, and he goes through all the appropriate paperwork and everything else that needs to be done. And then he only sells to extract companies. So that way, when people buy the product, they can't clone it or anything else. And that's how he's had to protect it. In fact, he's the one that really opened my eyes to a lot of this stuff because he asked me, how do you protect your strains? I was like, well, I put them in these like slants and whatever. And he's like, no. How do you protect from other people selling it? And I was like, oh, I don't. And he was like, no. And I was like, well, yeah, I mean, it's not legal to. And he's like, no, there are legal ways. And so he's the one that taught me that. But you have to, and now it's not like, it's not like roses or something else. So for a newer grower, what are some easier to grow and also desirable for the restaurants? I mean, most of my oysters are going to be easy, and most oysters are going to be easy. King Blue, is a little bit blotch sensitive, but I mean, honestly, it's still easy. And most growers that I know that grow it are like, yeah, its yield is so big that it's actually worth the occasional blotch that it gets. But even then, what we've seen is if you have pins that start to blotch, we just grab them, pull them off back down to the block, let it flush a second time, and it flushes without blotch. So, like King Blue is probably one of the easiest, but we've got any of our strains. Yeti's Breath is now, I finally have that down, delisted from the $200 price point, and that one is now out there. And so the Yeti's Breath is by far one of the most productive oysters I've ever come across. It is not the prettiest. When people were asking earlier about phenotypes and diversity and all that kind of stuff, I will say Yeti's Breath is one of the most productive oysters I've ever come across. It is not the prettiest, but it has great texture and taste. So chefs seem to really love it. That kind of stuff. Lion's mane and oysters are probably the easiest for restaurants. And then you just stay consistent and find yourself some mortgage lifters like King Blue. Also, hello. Well, I've been waiting all week to catch a live. Just found your channel and I've been loving all the info. Thank you, Spencer. I really appreciate that. And thank you for joining us. Sheldon, hello from Canada. Have you installed your HRV yet? How does it work? Do you have any issues with HRV because of spores? We're looking to get HRV as well for everything. So I can only say that the prototype HRV is coming together and is going on my grow room very soon for testing. I am not the one making the HRV, so I have to be very careful about what I say, and I'm not saying anything about its manufacture, process, or style right now, but Ben is working on it, and he's close. He's very close. He actually just brought to me today, check this out. It is not a sex toy. This is a log inoculation tool that I asked Ben to design for us, and is now, there is no spring, but what's cool is that whenever it gets stabbed in, it self-cocks, right? So you can see that there. Like, obviously, if I stabbed that into a block, that would cock back. And then I've already played around with some prototype versions. We're about to start selling these alongside our shiitake spawn, as well as some high-speed bits made for cutting logs. And I'm very, very excited because we'll be doing log classes and a lot of log inoculation here. I've always thought that log inoculation or log cultivation is a really underutilized process, especially for like permaculture growers and stuff, outdoor growers, survivalists, preppers, homesteaders, that kind of person. And shiitake is just, the quality of a log grown shiitake is just so amazing compared to a block grown. But that's Ben is working on all kinds of cool stuff. So he just finished this for me. We got one more thing that I asked for to change about the tip. He's also made it to where it's self-cleaning. So you can see this right here. There's like, so as this comes up, it will actually kick any sawdust that builds up out of these ports. Super cool tool. And I'm not going to sell them for like $100 and something freaking bucks the way a lot of these other companies are. So, but the HRV's coming, Sheldon. The bin's working on a bunch of stuff. There's a lot of things about to drop. Do you think training liquid culture with different ingredients, it will see later, actually makes a big difference in colonization speeds? Yes. Yes, I do. Though it doesn't have to be with that said ingredient. Sawdust, for example, I have used and used and used and used, but it just clumps too much. But there are other ways to open up the enzymatic profile of your liquid culture, which is what Dr. Solarians is all about. That's why people who use Dr. Solarians are starting to see a faster than average leap off. Especially, we're about to release V3 of Dr. Solarians, which is the improved version. We've had that under testing now. And this, well, it's even more impressive. But the enzymatic like literally, I have done nothing while I was sick but read about the enzymatic pathways in mushrooms and how they switch on and off and what kinds of stressors do this work for us. So, I mean, that's what a lot of this stuff is designed to do, is to literally create the profile. Aeration also helps. It's one of the reasons why aerated LC is like everybody's touting it after I made the videos about it. And that aeration actually activates some of those enzymes, the enzyme production. So, Demetrios. Hello, man. Thanks for the content. Appreciate you sharing knowledge. Absolutely. Thank you very much for joining us. I will say, guys, I'm going to only be on here for about 14 more minutes. So my throat is starting to tickle, and I still have some sensitivities. I was the one who asked about agar thickness. Gotcha. Okay. I noticed my psyllium tends to stick to the very top and not go down. So is there a reason to make them thicker? Well, yeah, oh, never mind. You answered it. Okay. Gotcha. Before I went back into it. Oysters on pasteurized wood chips, maybe supplemented with pasteurized straw. What do you think? Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can do it. There's a higher chance of contamination, but oysters are typically aggressive enough, and wood is enough of a selective substrate. I will say, if you do that, my thought is to absolutely supplement, not with pasteurized straw, but with your spawn. Go heavier on your spawn rates, and you will be automatically supplementing that way. So just produce spawn in a cheap and efficient manner, and bam, you'll be able to really lay it to those wood chips. And now you can up your protein content through whatever spawn use. Now, again, this is one of the good reasons to use oats instead of other grains, because oats have such a higher than average. Let's see, I think, I can't remember millet. I think millet's a little lower than oats. Milo, I think, is on par with oats. I've even heard of people, and I've not tried this yet, so do not take me like this is gospel, but I've even heard of people using beans because of the high protein content. Discord makes me feel old, and I don't know how to use it good. Yeah, welcome to my world, man. That's amazing that worked for you, Andrew. I have chronic tension headaches. Yeah, it was amazing. And then whenever I had that hypertensive crisis, I actually took another dose, and it helped a lot. I feel like part of a lot of our hypertension crises in the United States comes from either, maybe it was stress. I know it was stress for me, but that was the main trigger, though there's obviously a genotype thing going on. But the other side of that is, I think maybe like if something's off in your brain causing your blood pressure to spike, and I don't know that that's true, but I would love to see some research in that direction. I mean, we already know now through a couple of different studies that just psilocybin or psilocin on mouse tissues basically made them live longer. So it looks like psilocybin actually can help with longevity. I don't know. I'm a new mushroom farmer. Just wanted to let you know I follow everything you put out, watching several videos today. Thank you, Justin. I really appreciate that. Thank you for the support. Don't watch my face too much. Protect yourself. I'm only getting 1.5 pound flesh right now. I'm not sure why I can't get it higher. I get my stuff from my Mycelium Emporium, so I'll be getting good stuff to start with. Currently growing Phoenix. So it really just depends, man. I'm not saying that his stuff isn't clean, but he has a lot of strains, and I don't know what the care process is. I think he goes back to biopsy pretty regularly, so I don't know much about Lenny's process anymore. I've not talked to him in a while, not because there's anything wrong with us, we just haven't had a need to talk to each other in a while. I'm sure he's super busy, and I'm super busy, and I know he had a health crisis, and I had a health crisis. So, all of that said, I don't know how many strains he's actually developing versus pulling in. So, sometimes he's got a lot of like blue oysters and stuff that may be more common that are only going to produce 1 to 1.5 pounds. I'm not saying that's all of them because obviously he's got the King Blue and stuff, but Phoenix is always going to be lighter. Your 1.5 sounds about right off a 10-pound block for the Phoenix mushrooms. If you want, you got to have heavy yielding strains like pearly whites and blues. Blues are typically a better producer as far as like just raw yield weight. About to order your cleanup mix. Got a nasty clone of a horse hoof from camping last week. It might be too gnarly to say, but I'd like to try. Yeah, give it a go, man. See if it can help you. I mean, I'm not going to promise that the culture cleanup mix is going to be a miracle or a silver bullet solution, but it can definitely help you. And it's non-antibiotic. I don't like to work with antibiotics. I like to work with self-selective substrates. This is a self-selective media designed to help people grow white rot fungi. And clean them up. Would you be open for people? Because it's very faint. I'll also say that real quick. When it grows in on water agar or on our mix, the black makes it a little hard to see. You're going to want to use a light to shine. I actually need to do like a little bit of a video about this, but a flashlight going across will help you see the mycelium growing across, but it'll be very wispy. And on that black, it may be a little bit hard to see. So, plant it and then just check it with a light. Would you be open for people becoming regional distributors of your Agar and LC mixes? Think about Europe. At least you don't have to worry about them being cloned. Yeah, absolutely. I definitely would be interested in that. People are welcome to try to get hold of me. We can figure out. Europe is getting difficult now. Excuse me. Particularly Germany. Germany, like France has not been too bad, I don't feel like. But Germany has become a real problem to try to ship to. Mexico, too, all of a sudden. It's like Mexico just decided to turn the tap off. I've got a million questions. What your humidifier set to? I'm getting my air replaced every 1 to 2 minutes. Is that too much? How colonized should my substrate be before I put it into fruit? Okay. I like these questions because they're rapid fire and they're easy. All right. Humidifier? Okay. Every answer to every one of these questions is it depends. Now that we have that out of the way. Okay. The humidifier, I like to swing from wet to dry. So mine, I think, is set at 95% to 70% right now. But my general range is 95% to 65% at the low end. And so I like for my humidity to like sock in with fog and then dry out to where the floors and everything dry out to the touch. Sock in with humidity. And then this is going to change, though, based on what your environment is, right? So your elevation will change it. The carrying capacity, the temperature of your air will change the carrying capacity of the air. There's a lot of stuff to it. So what I would do is do a range like 65% on the low end, 95% on the high end, and then start from there. This is getting too wet and it's staying too wet, so I'm going to lower the top out, right? Or it's getting too dry and it's staying too dry, I'm going to raise it up. Yeah, no, yes, raise it up. So that's the humidifier. Getting your air replaced, look at your mushrooms. I can't tell you because I don't know. Your stocking density is going to change it. This is why I say it all depends. Your stocking density is going to change it. The size of your environment, the smaller the environment, the harder it is to balance. The larger the environment, the easier it is to balance. The more heavily stocked it is, the harder it is to balance. The more lightly it's stocked, the easier it is to balance. What you're going to look for is you want your oysters, you want them to grow as little a stem as possible before they cap out, right? And oysters are oxygen hungry. So what I would do is just back your air back and back it back and back it back until your mushrooms start to elongate. Then you can turn your air back up a little bit and maybe a little bit more just to be safe. But you don't want to run it as hard as you can or as hard as somebody else tells you based on some sort of fake gospel number that they pulled out of their butt, because again, it depends. Again, the easy answers are just going to hurt people in the long run. I know it's a little bit harder to hold this stuff in your head, but The air, just pay attention to your mushrooms. Your mushrooms will tell you we're starving for air. If they start drying out, we're starving for moisture. Like the mushrooms will speak to you. Just listen to them and dial that in. As far as colonized, if I'm growing commercially, you got to keep a schedule. So if I have 100 blocks one week and I'm planting them every week and I expect them to go in on this week, and 50 of them have about that much not grown in on the bottom, let's say, which is a pretty common thing for the heavier blocks. Then I might put 50 in on Monday and wait till Thursday, and hopefully they've grown in a little bit more. And if they haven't, I would still put them in. You want it colonized as much as you can get it. And then once it's completely colonized, put it in. If you're growing as a hobby or whatever, just let it grow in fully and then fruit it. But again, if it's commercial, you want to keep that schedule because it'd be better to get a slightly smaller first flush and then a slightly larger second flush and keep your schedule than it would be to miss that schedule because you were hoping that your first flush was a tiny bit bigger, if that makes sense. I hope that makes sense. Would you like some kickbacks on Bagger PLC? Oh, I gotcha, Colin. We talked about that, didn't we? Or Samantha told me about that. Been growing up my beard for some beard wrestling. I don't know if I want to do any beard wrestling right now, man. That's I'm pretty sure you'd win that. You've got a kind of crazy about you. That Do you think it's worth training my strains on the giant reed biomass before inoculating in my experiments? Will I get any improvements? If so, how many generations? That's a good question, Philip. Okay, let me think about that for a second. The way I would do that. Okay, I would want to do this with punches so that or a biopsy, like the bullnose biopsy or something, so I get the same amount of tissue each time. And then what I would do is get a starter plate and then create 2 different cell lines. One cell line you feed your normal agar mix. And the second one is agar made with the giant reed biomass in it, right? And then, just inoculate them and then measure the distance that they grow. See which one grows in faster. And again, because you're using the bullnose biopsies, you're able to get the same amount of tissue every time. Now, there's obviously, the more plates you do, the more cell lines you do, the better the data. And you are doing this for research. So, more than 2 cell lines, 3 on each side, right? 3 with the regular agar mix, and then 3 with the giant reed, or even more, depending on what your resources are. And then measure these and collect your data, and then go from generation to generation. What I would do is maybe 3 generations and measure it on both sides so that you get your controls and your research here. And then maybe even there's a couple of different strategies we used to use for training. One of these I got from Armando Duran. But the one was like he used to train cubes for hardwood, and he and I definitely had a small falling out when he came and worked for me. But guy's definitely a talented strain breeder. I mean, a strain trainer. What he would do is he would go from dish to, you would have your regular dish, and then he would take that and transfer it to something that had only sawdust in it, right? And he would grow that across sawdust, and it would take forever for those cubensis to grow across sawdust. And then he would take that to a plate that was a nutritive agar and let it just rapidly grow. And then go again to another choke point of back to the sawdust, and then back and forth until when it hit the sawdust, it just, whatever. No big deal. We're for this. I've done that with coffee. I had a couple of oyster strains that I've trained for coffee, and I've been playing around with maybe releasing a coffee version since so many people like to use coffee grounds. But that kind of thing. That's kind of how I would do that, is do I might even do 3 different types of cell lines. One where you treat it the Duran method, and one where you treat it just the giant reed biomass, and then the other one with the control group. So that might be a good way to go. Is there a chance to retrain? You guys can walk through. It's fine. Is there a chance to retrain the enzyme system of Inoki completely to a straw-based substrate Connor's waving. Hello. Completely to a straw-based substrate so that it becomes its preferred food. Was the approximate plan? Spores, the new strain. Yeah. So what I would do, my answer would be plates with straw-based substrate, and then probably just spore streaks or maybe some spore water, a couple of droplets on the plate. Let that kind of grow out, and then you can sector those out. But my plan would be to go from germ cell. And in fact, my plan would probably be a way to, let's say you're going to do monos for breeding. I would probably germinate those monos and then on the straw and then cross them myself, so that everything was coming off of a straw-based agar. So they already had that. But you can train it like we were talking about. But I feel like breeding is far more effective because you're going from the germ cells. You have the highest amount of diversity of that. Bird says, are you still using agar slants for long-term storage? If so, do you fully tighten after colonization or backseat with parafilm? So this is wrapped. It's completely closed. And it's wrapped with parafilm as well just to make sure the lid stays on. So a new one and an older one. This one's from Day 56 of year 2024. Pink velvet oyster from Australia, from Urban Valley, which is or has been a very interesting pink oyster for us this year. But that's how I do it. Got you on the mic. Wife and I did a mentorship in the early years of Mossy, and it was the best thing we did. Made lifetime friends and learned. Yeah, I mean, Jackie and Scott have been talking here, and yeah, you guys were. Ooh, my goodness, how many years has it been, Scott? They've been growing mushrooms for years now. We've had so many mentees come through this op now. That's actually one of the nice things about moving into this building is how many mentorships we've been able to do. Kind of makes me sad. I'm thinking about shrinking the program, but I got to get some time back. But yeah, mentorship's been one of the coolest things. Yeah, Scott and Tina came. We had Jack, and I think T was working for us at the time. And Tristan was working there for sure. I can't remember. I don't remember if we had Laura or not back whenever. Thanks for answering. Recently bought some of your. Oh, and thank you, Scott, for saying that about the plug, about one of the best things that you guys did. You guys are absolutely lifetime friends. When I got sick, a lot of people don't know this. I don't talk a lot about it, but when I got sick, Tina told Scott, and Scott immediately jumped at his truck and came down here and helped Samantha and I. He helped Samantha make bags. Helped us keep the operation going for like that first few days whenever I was just really down, really bad. In fact, he and I would sit right here, and watch. Was it right here? I think yeah, it was because we had the Xbox right here. Like I said, I was sleeping here at the op, but he would stay here and he'd basically sleep right next to me. We'd sit there and watch TV and joke around. I was on that oxygen machine. So Scott's a kind of person that shows up. He shows up when you need. Thanks for answering. I recently bought some of your strains from Mycelium Emporium, and I really do appreciate, by the way, Tina letting him do that. She handled their op while he came down and helped. So thank you guys. But also, I just wanted to brag on the kind of friend that he is. Thanks for answering. I recently bought some of your strains from Mycelium Emporium, like King and Blue and Pathfinder. Going to get more from your site once I'm done trying the 23 strains I have. Yeah, take it slow, man. Take it slow. Absolutely. Thank you very much for your answers for this mushroom cast. Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining me. Do you know why the early guys like Southwest Mushrooms got? Like, I do. I do, but I don't think it's my business to put it out there. But yeah, you like when you've been in the game this long and you have as many connections that I have. I've heard Mike from Southwest and I have never actually spoken, but I know an inordinate amount about his business, and not just through one person, like through multiple different people. So, yeah, there's a lot of people getting out. And there's a lot of people that have gotten out. Most people don't get out because it's working for them. So, come take a mentorship, and I will spill all the beans. But also, what do you generally find are the most common reasons why mushroom farms either don't take off, fail in the beginning, or aren't able to sustain it long term? So, a couple of different things. First of all, I'll just say this. the easiest part of growing mushrooms commercially is growing mushrooms. It's the business side that always trips people up, including yours truly. I hate business. I freaking hate it. I do not like focusing on money. I don't like any of that kind of stuff. I like collaborations. I'd live in a commune if I possibly could. I'd be some kind of weird redneck hippie commune. That said, that's just not the way apparently the world works. And the second reason is personal reasons. There was a farm, not mentorships of mine, but people that I knew pretty well, and they watched videos and stuff, and we talked regularly. Started a farm in Atlanta. It's 3 guys. 2 of them started it. They had a mutual friend. They weren't actually friends themselves. They got started when the other guy came back from Iraq. He was like, this is too much work. I don't want to do it. And basically, whenever he's like, I give up, the other guy gave up, and it left one person there to handle the whole thing by himself. So he just sold the op. He didn't want anything to do with it. If they weren't going to be part of it, he wasn't going to be a wage slave to them. Another couple that I knew and knew exceedingly well, knew from before the mushroom world, they got into mushrooms. Again, not trained by me, and they didn't do a mentorship or anything like that with me. But they started a farm. They started going really well, and they started meeting famous people and chefs and all this other kind of stuff, and really living the high life. And after that, they started going like swingers clubs, and they got a girlfriend who then became their girlfriend employee, and then the girlfriend employee didn't really like what was going on. I guess that she was working, and the other girl got to manage the place, and that couple broke up. And when they broke up, of course, the farm went away. Again, I'm not saying names because it's not my business to tell, but these are the kinds of stories I hear. There are a lot of people get into this and they spend a ton of money, even against my advice. I've got mentees that have come in this calendar year, spent a way more money than I would ever have suggested they spent, or gone into debt. And I'm a big proponent of you should do it for a year before you take on any debt or spend any real money. And they would do basically, this is apparently this person's MO, where they'll go in, they'll spend a bunch of money, and then they get bored of it and they just quit. And they started earlier this calendar year, and they're out now already. And then some people just age out. Like some people do this for years and years and years. I got a friend, not a mentee, but a peer, who did this and got into it and did exceedingly well, and has now sold their farm, and they sold their farm for a profit. And I know some other people that were very early on in the process who one guy ended up, I think, making millions selling his farm. So like, there are different ways out of this, but those are more common than not. It's failure. But that's like any business. And I will say, most people that I've seen failed, and if they came through and did a mentorship, they failed by listening. Well, not by listening, but while listening to my advice, and made money, and then were like, "This isn't for me," and got out. So they didn't actually lose any money on that kind of stuff. So that's the biggest things I see with people. Rad, Scott. Yeah, dude, Scott's pretty freaking rad. Hey, all, question: with enough time, could you technically train any strain to grow well on anything? Well, no, it's got to have, it's like let's say regolith from the moon. You can't just grow mushrooms on the regolith from the moon because there's no calories. It's very mineral rich, but it's not got any calories. So humans, we can train ourselves to live on quite a wide range of diets. I mean, just look at us. Northern Europeans are very interesting that we have that mutation to drink milk even into older age. Which made us a very dairy heavy culture. So with that kind of thing, yes, like that's kind of what you're doing with mushrooms. You give them a food source that's difficult for them until they either A, turn on enough epigenetics that it works, like our enzymatic pathway to produce lacase for breaking down lactose. Eventually that enzymatic pathway just stopped turning off. That's kind of what we're doing with the mushrooms. But you probably couldn't do that if you just went out and ate sand, right? You're just never going to adapt to sand. But mushrooms have a very wide range of things that they can adapt to. So I mean, like you're talking acidic environments versus basic environments. You're talking about a lot of oyster mushrooms can handle actually very high salt environments, which is very interesting because I've done experiments very early on with sea level salt water as the hydration to sawdust. And I should have gone a little bit higher on the salt, and then inoculated, no pasteurization, and it actually kind of worked. So I think there needs to be a lot more research into that before it becomes a process that people commercialize on. But you can do that kind of stuff. So you can absolutely train on a wide variety of things, but not anything. I'm in for the commune. Don't much like people as much as animals. I get it, man. I know you're an introvert. I am weird. I oscillate wildly between introvert and extrovert. So what's weird is I actually enjoy a hustle bustle hive kind of thing around me. I love when we all live together, Charles, Ben, Samantha, myself, and the kids. We're very close to all of our neighbors. We're farming the yard, building equipment, had the basement mushrooms going. Like that was probably the time when I was most satisfied in life with the least amount of effort. Is that it just ended up being like I like that hustle and bustle and hive going on around me while being able to have my own space and zone out. So I feel you. How do the mentorships generally work? Do people stay somewhere nearby and then do 8 hours a day on the farm? Yes, that's normally how it goes. Samantha has actually made some really good inroads with a couple of different owners of Airbnbs. If people will talk to us beforehand, we can get them information. Some people just book hotels around. Some people like to stay up in Pigeon Forge so that when they leave here, and we try to be good to that. Like we try to be thoughtful about their time. Because some people stay and they go stay up in Pigeon Forge, which is 45 minutes away. They'll drive here and then drive back, but then when they're there, they get all of the touristy stuff, or they'll stay in Gatlinburg. Or people, there are Airbnbs that are within walking distance. Last week, the guy walked every day. I think one day Samantha took him over there because he'd walked in, but then it was really raining, and we just were like, no, you can. And then he texted me one day. And was like, hey, it's raining. And I didn't see it till he was already in. And I was like, oh, did you drive in this morning? He went, yeah. And then later on, he told me he walked in. I was like, you said you drove in. He said, oh, I thought you asked if I walked in. I was like, no. So he just walked in the rain, and I didn't see his text until way afterwards. I was like, next time, call me, because I answer phone calls, but text may take me a minute. But that's how it works. And then, yeah, you do 8 hours on the farm. And then after that, I'm yours. Like, I straight up, I don't leave my mentorships alone. They have my personal cell phone number. We have rules for like how to contact me. One is if you text me, no, it's going to take me a while to get to you. If you're about to spend money and you need like an answer now, then just like put urgent as your first word, and then I get on it as fast as I can. But I'm there to help through. Like we do the mentorship. You guys come in, that kind of thing, and then we know for the next little while you're building out your op. You got questions. We're on retainer after that. And we're at your beck and call to a point. So, mentorships are great. We love doing them. We love teaching. That's actually a big place for me. My heart is in part in teaching. I'd love to do, we're going to be doing classes here for the local community, log classes and all that kind of stuff as a way to teach. I'll probably start doing some cordyceps. I want to have Sam from Shroom Squatch come in and teach a cordyceps class. I'd love to do a mentorship at Point. We'd love to have you, Ogre. What's Samantha? Sam's another one's got a heart for it. Sam is from Shroom Squatch out in Colorado is bad. He's actually from this area, but he is badass. I'll tend to the bees. I feel you. All right, guys. Thank you all very much for joining me. I am going to end it there. My throat is getting scratchy. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes, and I've got people coming over for dinner in 45. And I got to cook. So thank you all for being with me. It's been great. Keep spawning culture.
Yo, Andrew in the lab coat, lantern, jaw, shadow, microscope, halo, petri dish, tableau, stir plate, cyclone, liquid gold, whirlpool, feeding spore scripture through the culture school. Samantha with the steady hand, razor like a plan, shaves a sliver off the Agar like a desert wind can. Jars clink, hymns when the shelf choir hums, every lid's a sealed drum where mycelium comes. Keep spawning culture, roots in the rust belt soil, turn dust into kingdom with the clean room toil. From the block to the plate to the LC shine, every strand's got a story in the Mossy Creek mine. Yo, Mad Hat Hatchery, pink oysters tap dance, lion's mane maneuvers with a heresy.